Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on January 30th, 2014, and, well, pretty much going off to say, I feel this week's Impact was a little bit better than last week's, and, the way they came off the whole 2 weeks of Genesis deal, I did not really like their storyline and character development areas, and also how they decided to handle the main events. So I will say overall, this week was an improvement from the week before. I definitely like the quality of matches in the show. I like the Christopher Daniels, Kazarian versus Gunner and James Storm. It was a really fun and entertaining tag team match. And pretty much, at least at this point, puts a little bit to bed, or they're continuing on with maybe potential storyline with James Storm and Gunner. At this point, no one's going heel at this point in time. We'll see if they actually continue on with that potential storyline, or if they're going to basically have them working as a tag team and not and basically getting themselves back together again while Gunner has the briefcase. Which is the other thing that's really going weird now. It's like, in the terms of at least story or in any kind of character development there, I don't really like the aspect that he's putting the briefcase up every week. And it doesn't seem like he's at the point that he is good enough to become World Heavyweight Champion. So it's not time for... I don't feel like it's time for him to cash in the briefcase, but what's the purpose of having it if he has to put it up every week? Feast or Fire has always been like their Money in the Bank type deal. Yeah, they always seem to just... especially with the World Heavyweight title briefcase, they always seem to just put it up over and over and over again throughout the years before, throughout the time before it actually gets cashed in. So we'll see how many more times they're going to actually do that. I really don't like seeing the briefcase, put up all the time. So hopefully they don't do it, but you never know. They might do another match with that here in the future as well. Where was it? Also, the other another match that I ended up liking, and also kind of character development and storyline that I like being built up right now, is the Eric Young and Abyss storyline, where Eric Young's trying to be the mad scientist trying to control Abyss, and obviously he's failing at this point. Their match with Bromance was really good, and it ended kind of expectantly with Abyss costing them the match and getting the disqualification and then chokeslamming Eric Young. So I definitely like where they're going with this, where Eric Young's trying to play the mad scientist but failing. He's not trying to be comical about it. He's actually trying to be serious. But it's a nice little different direction for the Eric Young character at this point. And, everybody, of course, warning him, he's a monster, he can't be controlled and everything. I like where they're going with that. I hope to see a little bit more with it here in the near future. I also like the match, again, another tag match. I like the match with the EC3 and Magnus versus Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. It got set up at the beginning of the show with them cutting, with both of them cutting a promo in there, and Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe in there trying to get some full answers, and then of course Magnus challenges them to a match, putting their career on the line. But they went back in there and said, "We'll do that if one of us beats you, though, we get a shot at the world title." And I like that little setup in there. Obviously, it didn't feel like they were going to, get rid of two people at one point in time, so you figure you knew who was going to win the match right from the get-go. They even used the new storyline with the investor in there, saying, "Oh, if anyone interferes, they get fired," and anything in that sense. I'll get into a little bit with the investor here in a moment, though. The match itself was a really fun match, and I thought it actually brought out a little bit more of EC3 in there. I liked his time inside the match. He was able to show a little bit more in there. Of course, he was in there with Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, so they're definitely gonna help him out and make him look a lot better, maybe than what he really is, or just maybe even bring out a little bit of that potential in there. And I even liked a little bit of character development they put in there, where EC3 doesn't really trust Magnus, but Magnus and every other sense doesn't trust EC3 at this point. So I really liked where they're going with that, showing a little bit of dissension in there, even though it's relatively soon. It's a character development that EC3 is definitely needed, instead of just being the rich, bratty, nephew to Dixie Carter at that point. And this brings me into the investor storyline. I do have a problem with this storyline, and it's not the person that they got to play the investor, it's the whole aspect behind the investor. MVP, they revealed MVP to be the investor. I think that's actually a good choice. He's really good on the mic, and when they do want to put him in the ring, he's going to be really good in the ring. At least from what I've remembered, that could have changed over the years because he's a little bit older. I assume he would still have about the same mic skills. And I've really enjoyed MVP's mic work in the past. My problem is the aspect behind the investor itself. When they brought it up, it's like, oh, he was coming in and buying stocks and everything. Well, first of all, they were making mention of buying stocks into TNA Impact. If you're going to try to throw any kind of realism behind this, and that's one of the aspects behind wrestling is, trying to put some realism behind it, even though it's a complete work and everything. They would not use the term stocks in this because it's not a publicly traded company. If they were going about, they would go with the company that actually owns TNA Impact, which is Panda Energy. But they continually use Impact Wrestling as that aspect. The other aspect behind the investor is not an investor itself in a business sense is only investing money in the company. They actually have no power in any way, shape, or form, since it's not like a publicly traded company where the board of directors has some power behind everything, and then there's the main CEO. And an investing type deal in a non-publicly traded company, they actually have no power. They are investing money into a company with the belief that a return will come in. Return in money of growth, or at least their money back at some point in time. And they could throw out there an aspect of, oh, the investor has at least the ear of the person in control at that point, but they shouldn't actually have any power itself. So they could sway the person who's in control, which in this case would be Dixie Carter, to do what they want based on maybe taking the money away or something in that sense. So we'll see where they actually go with it, but I don't like the aspect that the investor itself already is showing that it has power, because an investor, and I'm going this off based off business and a business sense, and the fact that it's a non-publicly traded company, that, in a real life situation, this investor wouldn't have any power. He might have the ear of the person in charge to try to get them to do what they want, but in the end, it's still that person's choice. So hopefully it kind of changes a little bit over the few weeks. I think it could be very interesting, especially with MVP being the person behind it, and it could be a fun TV, but I kind of hope the storyline changes a little bit, because I fall under that aspect of, you fall into that aspect of trying to suspend the disbelief of the fans, and the fact that this is not a publicly traded company, this investor should not have any power in any way, shape, or form. So I kind of hope they switch it to more of a manipulation of Dixie Carter at that point in time, instead of having MVP starting to gain control over what's going on. So that's just my personal thought. I think it could still be a very interesting storyline, and we'll see where they go with it from here on in the future. So that's my review this week for TNA Impact Wrestling, and I thank you guys for watching.